This real side experience would be along similar lines as to what I had shared several months or so ago. It was another zombie apocalypse situation. In the previous experience, it had been a more contained situation, almost like a zombie scene established for the purposes of a training, a heads up, and a preparation for what may actually take place soon on the physical level. For indeed, I have had these type of zombie real-side experiences before, as have others, and so it would seem that those, on their process of becoming more aware, are being constantly shown by life and the real guides what is potentially going to manifest on the physical through the cause and effect decisions and choices being made now. The real side always reveals everything being decided on an individual and collective consciousness level, for as everything is, there can be no delay between decision causes to effect experiences, except in the creational body worlds, where everything moves through agreed upon time phases, a linear, movie-like sequence of cause to effect events. That can only be this way in simulations. But then the personal self does require experience to be presented in this way, for the individual has not recognized this isness that is everything, and so there would be little sense in them being in a simulator where this same degree of recognition was required. And so the simulators are designed in this way, that the personal self decides on an idea, processes it through the cause and effect mechanics, and generates the corresponding experience. But on the real side, the real awareness, which is this isness, can see everything in the simulators at least, even if it hasn't recognized the is that it is a part of yet, and allows the personal self to see what is deemed necessary and of a benefit for continued greater awareness of the real awareness and the is. It is through the personal self that we must recognize our real awareness first, then recognize the isness that the real awareness is. Creation does come packaged with free will through the body forms created, and so we must use our personal self-free will to decide on this recognition of the true reality. Then ultimately we use our free will to not use the free will, for there is no free will as such in the isness, as everything is. So why would you need to utilize will to create anything? You simply are everything, and it's a recognition, and a continued recognition, to see more and more of the endlessness of the isness that is everything. And as the real side is aside from the one-dimensional cause-to-effect sequencing of the physical level worlds, everything is instantly as it is, according to decisions and choices being made now. It must be this way, because everything is in this nowness, isness moment, and the only way we cannot be in the nowness of the isness, which is your real awareness, is if we are deciding and creating through the personal self, and having to experience the effects therefore in little bubbles of simulated reality aside from the isness. Everything is available in the nowness of the is, if we stand in it, and then an endless recognition in this nowness of the isness on the physical and the real side. But if we immerse ourselves in the created ideas, thoughts and emotions of the personal self, we are in bubbles of simulated reality aside from the isness on the physical and on the real side too. As such, our viewpoints will be rather limited and personal self-driven on the real side, and only if we step into our real awareness, this isness aside from the personal self, can we be afforded greater insights and awareness bolstering experiences that the guides, life, and our real awareness can now reveal to us, including what is being decided and agreed to now that will eventually manifest on the physical accordingly, but that which we can be shown now, as everything is this isness, and every thought, decision, choice, intent, and agreement presents as the end result on the real side, if we allow it to be shown to us. If we stand aside from a personal self, that would obscure it. These zombie scenarios are not necessarily literally impending zombie apocalypses, although potentially anything is possible in creation, and you do have a lot of buried body vehicles, and who knows how many still have the awareness trapped within them. I say trapped, but more so a decision that they are confined in this way, as some people do hold to the consideration that when they die, they go no further, that they are resigned to the ground for eternity, and as the free will deciders of our experience, we receive exactly what we have in fact decided, and we have been bombarded with the zombie films, zombie series on the TV, and all that goes into the subconscious, with who knows what subliminals, courtesy of the controlling reptilians. So the masses surely have taken in a lot of zombie apocalypse themes, and programming the collective consciousness to agree to a certain thing, through that which is widely watched through entertainment, will surely have effects overall that will reflect these planted causes. For the body vehicles can't tell the difference. They are designed to generate effect experiences through cause and effect. The decisions and choices and agreements that we decide, or the ideas we agree to from others, and where we place our focus and attention equals agreement also. And if we do not consciously regulate the thoughts that we have, if we get immersed in what we watch on the television and are not objective to the experience of it, we are very much taking in all these ideas, and true to the nature of cause and effect creation, we will experience the effects. So it's very possible some form of zombie apocalypse could manifest through television programming, as it is simply a case of deciding it, and it will be so. And the controllers do understand how creation works, how they can manifest the worlds and overall experiences they desire by programming the experience generators that are the personal created selves of all those in the simulators. But perhaps these zombie, real-side heads-up experiences can suggest more a zombification through the technology, the implementation of 5G and Wi-Fi, etc., that are designed, as everything generally is, as a control and subjugation mechanism, to quite literally turn the human race into zombie-like drones. Either way, these real-side experiences are being provided to prepare the new friends for what is to come, for things will get gradually worse, and we will find ourselves more so in a world of zombies, the unconscious unaware, and made more so unconscious through the agreements they are making. But it is only the personal self that is programmed, and as we become more aware, we become conscious of that which we are deciding every moment, and even as we are subliminally bombarded, the real awareness is aside from the personal self, and untouched by what occurs in creation, as it is a separate reality. Consequently, we can stand indifferent to everything transpiring, stand in our real awareness, without getting caught up in it through the application of emotional reaction or mental consideration, which has us standing in the personal self, if we do engage the body vehicles. Although we still have to deal with what we have been agreeing to and deciding up until this point. We have to face a creation we had a hand in forging, but the effects of the 5G as an example will be mitigated far more so as we stand in our real awareness while on the physical level. As such, we may very well find ourselves effectively being the aware survivors amidst a world of unconscious, unaware zombies. Anyway, I found myself in a dense forest, and with a group of survivors. Seems this particular zombie apocalypse had been going on for some time. We would then perhaps be well into the movie, as it were. We had made a rudimentary makeshift camp, disguised it with leaves for camouflage purposes. We were also dressed in clothing of such a colour that wouldn't draw attention, that we would blend in with the forest we had established as our home. The zombies were constant, and so we had to be on our guard. As we slept at night, we would conceal ourselves in holes in the ground, under coverings constructed of more leaves and foliage. How many times do you see zombie movies, where everyone sleeps openly in tents in the wilderness, and in come the zombies, invading the tents and snacking on the survivors? So this sleeping arrangement made far more sense. The zombies, as is characteristic of their kind in the movies, as it was here, could be dispatched most effectively through brain trauma, and so, as we went about our surviving, we spent many a moment splitting zombie heads open with axes and whatever else was available, as despite our precautions, we were always running into the zombies. At one point, there was an especially large zombie that must have stood 20 feet tall. To deal with him, I had to rather sit in the branches of a tree and drive an axe through its very resilient and stubbornly resistant to axes head. Who knows, maybe this individual was a zombie controller or zombie reptilian. As the reptilian controllers do like to bloat themselves up to large sizes, that they can look down upon those they deem their slaves and lessers. Maybe an aware individual, as the more aware an individual, the greater their stature can be on the real side. Those of limited awareness or non-existent awareness very often are seen in the form of children, or very small beings, or even little dots on the real side, such as Harry Klemp. So perhaps an indication that this zombification process will include a lot of individuals who perhaps thought they were safe. Perhaps this extra-large zombie was an individual who was aware to a degree, but lacked the focus to follow through with complete sincerity, their real intent not fully recognized or embraced, and they, in fact, were caught up in the effects of creation also, still with a degree of awareness, hence the height, but with focus on the is found wanting. They had resigned themselves to creation. Or indeed, maybe, yes, a reptilian controller, who also became caught up in the effects they had been a part of setting in motion, the programming of the slaves into agreement to their controlling ideas. Many reptilians, or minions of them, are participating and contributing, playing their roles in the continued subjugation and control of the human slaves, but not all of them will be sitting with the victorious controllers in the aftermath. Many of the tiers of reptilians and lackeys are expendable, and once their work is done, they may find that they have no further purpose, and are discarded and chucked in with the rest of the robotized slaves. This is how it is with the reptilian controllers. It's a very cut-throat club, as it were, and if you outlive your usefulness, and no longer are providing anything that serves the Calorm overall, then your days will surely be numbered. And maybe this tall zombie was one such reptilian who had outlived his usefulness, and a zombie slave he had become with the rest. At one point in the real side experience, we were sneaking into an abandoned supermarket. Specifically, we were targeting the book section. For among the rotting food and general mess of a raided and emptied supermarket of everything consumable, were items left that were considered of no practical use. Understandably, books would fit this category in a life and death survival scenario, and among these books were a series by Zachariah Sitchin. I was sent in to secure these books, and for whatever reason, we knew that not only were they there, but within 2 of the books of the series that were available, there was some vital pieces of information that was somehow essential, and so I would weave my way among the shop-dwelling zombies to reach these books. I'm unsure what was contained within such books that we would need, as I'm fairly certain the author generally made no reference to the ears, the real universes, tap lines, or any real references or knowledge that pertained to the reason we are in creation, that being to recognize the ears. That he, and most like him, have no intent to present what's real, are not backed by the guides or life consequently, and if they are not referencing the ears, then they must be referencing ideas that pertain to creation only, and as all creational ideas represent cause and effect restricting snares, if we agree with them, then such authors and books only serve as control mechanisms, designed to keep people distracted, confused, and focused on creation through the various creationally based ideas they perpetuate, the spiritual paths, teachings, etc., that make no mention, hint at, or point to the true reality life is, and most, if not all, such authors are bought off by the reptilians anyway, as they assist the reptilians in keeping people in creation through the creationally based ideas that they present and emotionally tapline people through. But we all are this awareness, as everything is awareness, and every individual is this being of real awareness light now. It just requires recognition of that which we all in fact are, and so it's quite possible that even bought-off authors, even those operating from the personal self-intent to control others, may have little glimmers of real awareness insight seeping through the creational bubbles of their limited personal self-realities on occasion, and perhaps some great insight from the real awareness slipped into the passages of some of the books Zachariah wrote, as we are each a view, and as we each share our viewpoints and experiences, it all adds up to a greater awareness and recognition for those that pay attention. Maybe Zachariah had written something in such a way, not even conscious he was doing so, that would be very beneficial to individuals on their awareness process. Maybe even the spark that ignites greater recognition of the is with certain people, for we each grasp and figure out what's real in various ways and from various sources. Even the movies can provide great insight if seen objectively. But anyway, the zombie apocalypse experience ended, and I would find myself in my house on the real side, representing the personal self, and I would be in communication with Dwayne through a kind of Skype setup. Agreement with Dwayne and what he is presenting apparent, as I was in communication with him while on the first floor of the house, which is the personal self. The upper floor representing the real side and the real awareness. As often, the real awareness can be doing what it is, but the personal self may not be aligned with the real intent, and agreement to becoming more aware must be so with the personal self also, or our focus will not be entirely with the is, and our positioning in life will be in accordance. We position ourselves according to our intent, and positioning with the is, to stand real with the true reality, requires 100% intent through the 5 bodies of the personal self also to do so. Our awareness is very much separated into 2 forms, the real awareness and personal awareness, but it is the same awareness, and of course the entirety of it must be aligned with the same intent or focus, that of standing real with the is, or we are divided in where we want to be positioned. And as the deciders, this is always our choice to make, and we must align the 2 awarenesses, that they operate cooperatively rather than at odds with each other. So if we have the real guides or Dwayne featuring on the first floors of our personal self houses, then this very much indicates agreement with the isness and the recognition of it through the personal self, that is aligned then with the real intent of the real awareness. As Dwayne and the guides represent this isness, they wouldn't be there with the personal self a part of the house, unless there is agreement with the personal self for the process of his recognition. The technology we were using for communication purposes wasn't very effective, and so Dwayne would manifest in the personal self level of my house, and we would continue our dialogue in that fashion, absent of the need for technology. We would discuss the zombie experience I just had been through, but what was more revealed was how, as we become more aware, we supersede the need for technology. We make use of it as we do on the physical, but it is very limited. It is monitored and can be unduly affected or even shut down by the controllers, as we use their created technology for beneficial purposes. As we become more aware, we undoubtedly will move beyond the need for reptilian technology, and indeed, we can just as readily communicate on the real side, unhindered and uninterfered with. For I have had many real side experiences where we have set up Skypes on the real side and conducted our discussions in this fashion, or as in this case, simply be in the presence of those we are communicating with, regardless of the geographical miles that separate us on the physical level, and ultimately we are this all alive awareness. We are all and everything is, in this nowness moment, and as we more so step into that true reality, and it becomes being to being, nobody or anything requires travelling to reach. Everything is available here and now, and it just requires a shift in our awareness, and we can be anywhere, any when, and be in communication or in the presence of whoever we decide.
People need the knowledge and a lot of explanation of all of this. And yes, it's very, very important as we're giving the hints here. And so this is where, through the process of each simulator, that only those individuals, like salmons swimming upstream, it's a toughie. But as you sincerely, with your intent, focus and figure this out and all the parts to it, and I'm constantly giving hints, and again, the ones that I really like are the images that Ava and I recently made about the children and the sun seers, pure sun seers. And so again, more than sincere as a person is personally, that to sincerely see this reality and relate to it. So again, when Paul was here, he described the idea how people relate to a god or God as like an old man in a beard, and what the reptilians wrote in their Bible as God appears as man himself in the image, etc. All this made up stuff. It's really cute, but it has nothing to do with it. So the challenge is the personal self. That personal self you created, and you have many personal selves. And so again, the personal self relates to itself according to itself. It cannot really relate to the real awareness. So this is where you need to recognize your real awareness as opposed to in relationship to this personal self that you've created. Now, you're going to go back and forth many, many times because this personal self is very adamant. It's been around a long time, has collected a lot of stuff, and it does have references to past lives also, but not as always conscious of that because it's in creation. So everything in creation is happening, and the personal self is affected by that. So it's a lot. But it becomes very simplified when you really fine tune it. And so this is the big step right now to really see that. And so it's not that all of a sudden, zowie, it's an enlightenment like we've come to know. No, it's a gradual recognition that continues on. And as long as each person decides themselves to continue on, because they do have that struggle with that personal self constantly, and the world is constantly pulling at you because this is how it is. Cause and effect creation is an agitation, and it will constantly automatically suck you in, just like the waves coming in. And as you're standing on the shore, as the water flows out, it tries to suck you out into the riptides, etc. So again, it's learning to maneuver in the psychic realms more so than just cute ideas about being spiritual and believing in gods and masters and saviors and all that. These are just really baby brain little notions that we went through, just like when we were young, we played with blocks, etc. And it's not about the big knowledge, but the big knowledge is a reference, and also the courage to step up and face all of creation and to present what is real now. That's part of it too. Each person has to earn their way. And so there's no getting around any of it. Nobody's just going to be swooped up, so to speak, because it's an isness to be recognized. There's no up or down or left or right. It becomes more real. It becomes better all the time, but you have to pay attention and see it. And if there are those that you know that support this, lucky you, because just like Rebazar told Paul when he was here, working up to the rod of power, you can do it now, but there's no guarantee in the future that it'll be here because it's not. So again, the isness life is with us, but for someone to come forward and have the recognition to present something real that relates to it now, that is huge. And take a look at the world out there compared to how many are here. Very, very few. And this is how real it gets. There will be more, but it's a huge struggle and challenge to recognize this reality. So it's up to each person to pay attention and create their own homework. It's like you are the teacher, you are the student, you decide the outcome of the lessons and how you're going to relate and learn to see this reality. True reality life is invisible. What occurs from it is the light and the sound, etc., but it's in a silent, invisible position that is everything, and that which becomes experience, like we experience here, and Kevin is sharing, etc., and others, that is in creation itself to give the reference. But the true reality is invisible, and it cannot be considered with anything in creation. So here comes the challenge to really be able to see this, and life knows when you do see it, and so do the guides. So you cannot fool anything. So again, your real intent is the real awareness, but you decide how you're going to figure that out. Yes, thank you so much, Kevin. Wonderful. It's always a new day, which is cool. I go through things up and down, etc., myself in this physical realm, yanked here and there, but I use everything that I experience as a relation to better see and recognize this reality, and at the same time creatively produce things to share with others, because I love this adventure and I love to see people step up and be happy and start to succeed with this. But yes, it is you might say, the test of time, because who will come and go? And the years that I've done this, since 1970, 50 years, I've seen hundreds come and go, and they think they know something, and they have the right to do that. It's not about right or wrong. It's about, being real now, and that's the best part. So yes, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everybody.